I think this is just a good move in terms of relations with the Steelers because it's something he really doesn't have to be there for, Richie. It's voluntary. So it's a good look for him that he only missed a couple. What I think is most interesting about this, or what I think is real telling, is Deontay Johnson just wants to get paid. The big question here is whether the Steelers are going to be the team paying him. He doesn't care. He wants the money. Well, the way he makes the money is to put up huge numbers this year. Well, how does he do that with likely, almost certainly actually, two quarterbacks, Richie, occupying the starting role? Mm-hmm. Well, that means get a rapport with both of them. Get there and start getting reps, doing the basic legwork that it takes to become a great receiver and to build chemistry with a quarterback. So I think he and his agent and his people understand that it's better for him to be there, figuring out Trubisky, figuring out Pickett, than it is to be sitting on the sidelines, even if he doesn't have to be there.
Yeah, I mean, he did pick up right where he left off last year. I mean, the guy has incredible work ethic, at least from the outside looking in.
Did he drop a pass?
No, he didn't drop a pass, but he was out there for an extra hour after practice today, working, catching tennis balls, doing whatever he has to do. I mean, the guy catches hundreds of balls before every game. We talk about it. Stays after practice. I mean, he does have the work ethic. Look, his drops came down from 13 to 5 last year. That's an improvement. We'd like to get it closer to 1 or 0, right? But, you know, there's still that issue of drop passes. Some of them probably didn't count in the stat book, but that's my biggest concern with him. That's my biggest concern why I don't think the Steelers should have to pay him $17, $18 million a year.
I think he's a complicated case. If the going rate is 18 to 20 million for the best receivers in football, I just don't think he warrants that. I heard you in the sportscast right before we came on the air. You talked about Christian Kirk's deal and how that's going to make a compelling case for players like Deontay Johnson. The big problem I see, or the way that that's not going to be a problem, is that teams like the Steelers that are traditionally very well run, that are savvy with their contracts, everything else, they're going to look at Jacksonville and say, would any other team in the league have made that deal for Christian Kirk? Probably not. That's an inept franchise making sort of a deal that goes as an outlier, and we're not going to let that set the market. I just don't think he's as good as Antonio Brown or any other these great receivers that the Steelers have had through the years. You know, guys who have gotten that big second contract, Brown, Ward, those are the only two really. I just don't put him in that class. And Richie, I think here's the one other thing I'll say. You know, with Antonio Brown, we knew he was great, but you also had to have that push-pull of how much of it was Roethlisberger's excellence and how much of it was Brown. Who made who, or how did that work? I think the truth is two all-time greats made each other better. With Deontay Johnson, he never played with a great Ben Roethlisberger, and you'd like to believe that maybe had he done so, he'd have put up bigger numbers, but he didn't. So the Steelers can only pay him on what they've seen him do. Maybe he puts up big numbers this season. They think twice about it, but I doubt it. I think he's playing either his last season or his second to last season on the Steelers' payroll, because the only realistic thing they'll do is franchise tag him if he has a great year this year.
Yeah, and I think that's a smart business move. I mean, you look at other guys, too. I mean, who do you want to compare him to? I know you probably looked this up on your radio show, but like a guy like DJ Moore, he's making almost $21 million a year. Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, these guys are in the 20 millions. I mean, is he as good as those guys?
He's not as good as Godwin.
I don't think so.
He's not as good as Chris Godwin. I think DJ Moore is kind of a sneaky, underrated receiver myself. Do I put him up there with Amari Cooper? It's close. Is Amari Cooper paid sort of correctly? I don't know. Let me put it this way. In the AFC North, would you say he would crack for sure the starting three on the Bengals?
No,
Chase, Higgins,
I don't
Boyd?
think so.
I'm not
No.
sure I'd put him above Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd's an elite slot guy. Would you put him above Cooper? Maybe. So at best, he's your fourth best receiver in the division. You said Diggs. He's not better than Diggs.
No.
He's not better than Adams. He's not better. Here's a personal one that people disagree with. I don't think he's better than Mike Williams on the Chargers. That guy's an elite deep threat. I don't think he's better than Tyreek Hill. So when you can start rattling off a pretty big list of names, not better than Deebo Samuel, when you can name a bunch of guys he's not better than, what does that tell you? He's probably not worth premium wide receiver money, whether guys who are comparable to him got it or not.
You know, before we go to the break, real quick, Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, both make $15 million a year. Is he better than either one of those guys?
No, Cooper Kupp's probably the best receiver in the league right now.
And you can even go on. I mean, Robbie Anderson, maybe.
Is he better than here? Is he better than
Gallup.
CeeDee? Like, listen, I'm not trying to slag the guy. Is
Yeah.
he better than CeeDee Lamb for sure?
I'm not
sure.
so. Michael Gallup's their number 2 receiver, and he's making 11.5. Who would you rather have? He's 26. I don't know. It's a good question. And, we'll talk about this more after the break, but that's why I think that's kind of why I fall into, at most $14 million a year. I didn't mind what you said, 5 years, $70 million? Maybe I'd be okay with that.
If they gave him 5 and 70, if they gave him 5 and 70, I think it would punch Chase Claypool's ticket out of town. The guaranteed money would be relevant to me. I do think he's the best receiver on the roster right now, I think they just drafted a guy in the second round who could be better.
All right, we got to take a break. Back with some of your phone calls, maybe some tweets coming up next. Stay right there.